Hi, I'm Ted Haftagaber, founder and producer of Live Talks Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us. Since we started over a decade ago, we have brought you hundreds of conversations with storytellers, writers, actors, musicians, humorists, chefs, and thought leaders in business and science. You can watch and hear most of these in our YouTube channel and our podcast. For details, visit livetalksla.org. And now, here's the show you've tuned in to see.
Really, I really want to start, actually, before we even open the book, on the cover of the book. And your first movie, called The Last Angry Men, opposite the great Paul Mooney.
Yes.
It was his last movie. And Paul Mooney said to you, you can play any character you want, no matter who you are, no matter the way you look or the color of your skin. And you felt that those words ignited a world of ideas and a lifetime of hope. I wanted to be anyone I wanted to be. And one thing that I think is so interesting about your experience, you know, this phrase that is used on the first black actor in Star Wars as example. I feel that color is not a big thing with you one way or the other.
No, I don't. I've led a very eclectic life since I was a child, so I don't know any other way of going through this vale of tears, this barren sod. But when I used to love to sit with Muni and talk about we talked about a lot of different things. But when he was a little boy, he played an 80-year-old man in the Yiddish theater. So that's the testimony to what he was doing with his life and how he perceived his life as a creative entity. One of the things I really wanted to kind of, when we talk about terms of legacy and all that sort of stuff, I really wanted to kind of say that, there is other ways to exist other than saying this or that. There's this wonderful, beautiful gray area. And as a painter, you really learn a lot about gradation. You learn a lot about color and hues, things of that nature. I always see myself as the full spectrum of colors. And I don't know that I can see myself in any other way. So for me, if I'm capable, if I can do it, if I can pull it off, I'll just go in any direction I decide I want to go.
Well, you've certainly and admirably done that. Now to the first of many Post-it notes. And this probably says more about me than it does about you. Relatively early in the book, when you're 13, you write, "Girls changed everything. I accompanied my sister to a party thrown by a friend of hers. At one point in the evening, I was sitting by myself in a room where all the kids were putting their coats after they got to her house when a pretty girl my same age walked in. We started to talk. There was something sweet and special about the moment. I was trying to be seductive and romantic, and she was a willing participant. I remember she looked at me with the most relaxed expression on her face and smiled faintly before shutting her eyes, which I took as an invitation to continue. In a soft, sensual voice, I let her know how much I appreciated her beauty, and I described the ways I imagined showing that to her. A few moments later, she had an orgasm. She was a little bit embarrassed afterwards, but not that much, and I felt like I had discovered a new superpower. which I suppose I had. It was called Romance, and I was eager to try it again. But did you learn at that relatively young age, just by your manner and way of speaking, that would appeal to the opposite sex?
Not really, I don't know. It's one of the, it's, everything I've done, I remember when I was a kid, I read this J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. Sure. That kid, and I really related to that kid. My life has always been this kind of adventure, and I would always find myself in situations that unplanned, and of course, romance. When it came to girls, first of all, my Mommy was the first woman I was in love with. I mean, I thought she was the most adorable person in the whole world. And then, of course, there was my twin sister, Lady, and then my grandmommy. Those three ladies really gave me a real sense of this whole world of the female world. And it was very interesting because they were all the three different individuals who really gave me a real sense of I don't know how to say it. It's a kind of a connection. It taught me a lot about myself as a male. Like I remember reading, I used to sort of dabble in read a lot of Carl G. Jung. And I remember he coined the phrase anima animus. And anima being the female counterpart of the male self, animus being the male counterpart of the female self. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Yeah. But I've had this real sense of my female self, not gaze female, but softness. So for me, relating to or having a kind of a relationship with a female is not so much, it's like for me, kissing is almost sometimes better than having sex. It's like, I guess sensual. Sensual is one good word, I guess. But it's not about conquest.
Right.
It's about
you detail, I don't want to say frequent bouts of kissing, but you detail in your personal life, and there's one anecdote in your professional life. Lady sings the blues.
To be able to have somebody have an orgasm without touching them.
Pretty extraordinary. And when you're 13, incredibly extraordinary. Not to belabor the kissing thing, you write about shooting Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross, and I sense at the time, Berry Gordy, who produced the movie,
right,
who put you in the movie, was romantically involved with Diana Ross.
From what I understand.
Right, and so as you were shooting these kissing sequences, which you described and enjoyed, at the scene required 15 seconds of kissing, and at 16 seconds, Berry Gordy said, "Stop."
Right. Yes.
Did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't want me to continue.
What did Diana Ross want?
The enjoyment that I was having.
Right.
No, we were both enjoying ourselves. But we had a lot of fun with each other. We were like two little kids.
One of the pleasures, and there are many within the book.
By the way, folks, I really don't like talking about myself. This is.
Well, no, you know,
I find it very difficult.
But I think there are a lot of people who, such as yourself, who've had this enormous public career, but I think of you as a private person. There are so many people who are just out there, but I don't think of you like that. But you're very candid in the book, which is to your credit, and you tell a lot of wonderful stories, and you mentioned a lot of wonderful names. You knew Diane Carrol before the rest, and it's my mother's favorite actress, before the rest of the world knew Diane Carrol.
She and I went to high school together. We went to music and art high school, and she was amazing. You talk about somebody with a real presence, a real charisma. She was one of those individuals. I remember when I first saw her walking through one of the corridors at Music and Art, and she was like this light, like this incredible bright light that entered this space, and right behind her were like all of these people. At least I thought they were all behind her, because she was magical. She was really, truly magical.
And
such elegance.
And of course, you were later reunited on Dynasty, as many of you might remember. Back then, as a high schooler, could you go, you know what, something's going to happen for her?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that with Diane. She was, and soon after, when she left Music and Art, she was on Broadway doing the musical? I forget the name of the musical, but she was on Broadway. She had
a big stage career. All right, next name drop, and this is a fantastic name drop. Arguably the preeminent actor of his time at that time. You took an acting class from Sidney Poitier.
Right, yes.
What was that like?
Well, Sidney was, his career was beginning to really take hold. And I think he had just done Blackboard Jungle, I think it was, yeah. And prior to that, he did a television show where he received an Emmy for A Man is 10 Feet Tall, which he did as a film with John Cassavetes. First he did it with, I forget, he's passed away, but he did it later as a film called Edge of the City with John Cassavetes. Sidney always liked me. He always felt that I had a gift and a presence that he was curious about. And I found out that he was always watching to see where I was going to go with my ability. But he was part of a whole new generation of black actors, I guess, if you want to call it that. He was part of the whole, and I'm part of that period, the whole Stanislavski period of acting, the method. And he was bringing a whole new kind of presence and energy into acting that I really had a real appreciation for. So my friends, well, we knew Sidney up in Harlem when he was, I knew him through friends of mine. And, but I had a tremendous respect for Sidney, and I looked forward to taking classes with Sidney. But it didn't last a long time because his career started moving towards the stars at that time.
Speaking of careers moving towards the stars, you have success on the stage in New York. You book a big movie that shoots initially in New York and then to Los Angeles. So since we're all here in Los Angeles, They put you up in an apartment, the Montecito Apartments on Franklin.
Right, yes.
And
That's where all the New York actors used to stay.
this is from a chapter about being here in LA for the first time. Sonny, don't get any girls pregnant, my dad said, and I love you. That was my dad as an older black man. He was going to worry about me regardless of how I tried to convince him that I was going to be okay. He also knew I was going to have a good time in Los Angeles, and he was right. I saw Katharine Hepburn in a convertible on Sunset Boulevard and spotted Agnes Moorehead at the farmer's market on Fairfax, but seeing stars paled in comparison to seeing women getting on buses each morning in their nightgowns. They're so relaxed out here, I remarked to my mother on the phone. Of course, I was unaware those nightgowns were called muumuus, and they were considered stylish. When you got here, did LA seem like paradise or Sodom and Gomorrah or
Well,
what?
it was a far cry from the experiences I had growing up in New York City. I mean, this was, but you know, when I left New York, that was the first time I had ever left home. And my father was one of those kind of people that didn't say a whole lot. So when he knew that I wanted to drive, and he knew that I was going to start driving when I was in California. So when I got to the Montecito, I opened up my suitcase, and there was this article in the suitcase. And the article was a photograph of a person in a car accident with being decapitated.
Oh, jeez.
That was my father's way of saying, Sonny, be careful.
And
But anyway.
I want to share with the people here, this is a lovely little passage. You said that Barneys Beanery was one of your favorite places to eat.
Right.
I returned to Barney's, settled in a corner booth in the back, and I wrote my father a letter. In it, I told him how much I loved him and admired him and understood and appreciated his struggle and the sacrifices he had made as a man who put caring for his family at the top of his life's goals. I knew he wished I was physically tougher, but I assured him that he taught me something more important, to be a loving, caring, thoughtful human being. He needn't worry about me, I wrote. I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's a lovely thing.
And he carried that letter with him all through through the years. And I found that letter in his wallet after he passed away.
Oh my gosh. All right.
But I took on his jobs, and when he worked 3 jobs. I proudly come from a working class family, and we never asked for anything. We all worked for everything. But I took on one of his jobs, two of his jobs. He had bought himself a 1956 Buick Special, and he was one of those kind of people that if he couldn't afford it, he wouldn't. Buying anything on time was not his way of doing things. But anyway, he bought this car. He hadn't seen his mother in 20 years, so he and my sister drove down to Texas, where he's from Houston. And I stayed back that summer, and I worked 2 of his jobs. That was one of the greatest experiences I ever had in my life. Knowing and actually having a personal experience of and seeing and understanding and feeling what this man had to endure to take care of his family. Daddy was even when he was dying, he was telling jokes. And I remember him holding my mother's hand and saying, what's my little girl going to do without me? It was one of the most beautiful moments I've ever experienced. But he was well, I learned a lot from him.
I'm going to do another name drop. You did a play opposite an English actress named Joan Plowright, and some people know this, some people won't. Sir Laurence Olivier was married to Vivien Leigh, and in effect, he left Vivien Leigh because he was in love with a young British actress named Joan Plowright. So here you are doing this play, and all of a sudden backstage, here comes Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, I think he was doing, what was he doing? I think with Anthony Quinn. They were doing, was it Beckett, I think, at the time?
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah. And he would come by, and I used to spend a lot of time talking, having conversations with him. But what I always found interesting about him was that, I had, as a young man, I was 23 years old at the time, I had lots of questions. But he would never let me ask those questions. He was always probing me, always asking me questions. So one day I thought, wow, this is why this guy is so good, because he's not trying to show off. He's not trying to he was not trying to show. I'm really inarticulate tonight, really.
Not at all, not at all.
But I mean, he was like Brando was another one. When I met Brando, they were like little kids. They weren't just trying to tell you who they were and how important they were. They were always looking to hear what's going on. They were like sponges to me.
That's interesting.
And in Olivier, I even said to Olivier one day, I said, had you ever thought about playing Othello? And he said, yeah, but he said, but when I think of Othello, I think of Paul Robeson and Robeson's stature and Robeson's voice, like James Earl.
Right.
But finally he did it, and I saw a video of the performance, and it was very interesting because he had gone to one of those voice people to deepen his voice.
Dialect coach or something like that.
Dialect coach, yeah. But at the same time, I remember watching him walking, because people think that black people have big asses. He was walking around with his ass, in this sort of gait, and I fell out laughing. I thought it was the most outrageous thing you could, a choice to make, but it was such a brilliant choice to me. But he had been known for doing things like that. There was there was Gielgud, who was like the Edmund Kean School of Acting, which is, and then Olivier was very physical. And I always liked that about him. He would break rules. And I always liked actors who are willing to just take chances and do something outrageous that he would be criticized for, but had the courage to, be outrageous.
I'm jumping ahead. You're back in LA, you're working steadily, TV work, film work, and you get a call from a casting director about a movie, and when Ted came out here and said it, I heard people react to it, and when I mentioned the title of it, I think of the music associated with it, I think of seeing my father cry when he saw it, and that's this movie Brian Song.
Right.
So this casting director calls you up and indicates that the person who was going to play Gale Sayers, which was Lou Gossett.
Lou Gossett, yeah.
And what happened?
Well, Lou, from what I understood, was he was playing basketball on a weekend and injured his tendon in his Achilles heel, and so he wasn't able to do it. So I happened to be in California at the time, and Renee Valente, I've been trying to remember her name for Renee Valente. I wonder if she's still alive. Do you know?
I don't know.
No. Anyway, she was a big casting director here. And I had just broken up with my second wife, so I was a little bothered by that because she left me for another guy. And also, my father was, when I read the script, it was all about Brian Piccolo dying of cancer. And then my father was dying of cancer, so I had all of this pressure on me, you know. So it worked for the reading when I read for the role. And also, Jimmy and I had even though I could never imagine myself hanging out with Jimmy because he was a typical New York, Queens tough guy. And I was not really a tough guy. I'm a real softy. But we had a real chemistry, and it worked very well. So we ended up doing the Brian song together.
And this is a question I often ask people. Was there a point in the making of it, maybe when you read it, obviously it struck you, but when you're shooting it and you're going, gosh, we've got something here. This is going to be something special, or did you not? You may not know that, and you might have realized it when you saw it, or? Well,
certainly working with Buzz Kulick, you know, whom I had a tremendous admiration for, and there are all of the elements that really, you know, it said to me, there's something really, yes, something very special here. And it was just a matter of seeing where it was going to go.
You shared a story on our morning news this morning that I'm going to ask you to repeat. So the movie comes out, 50 million people see it, more, and it has lived on ever since. And it was arguably the first made-for-TV movie that told the true story of a white NFL player and a black NFL player becoming roommates and teammates and friends. And you said you hadn't spent much time in the South, but after the movie came out, you happened to be in the South, and what happened? And this happened to you more than once.
Yeah, I was in the South. I think I was shooting the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings. And this bigot, he just couldn't wait to tell me how the impact that movie had on his life. And I thought to myself, wow, that's interesting. You know, for a moment, this guy just forgot about these hating somebody and embraced the whole idea of loving and caring and feeling a sense of relief. I think that's what he felt for that moment. He felt, and I thought to myself, what a wonderful thing. At least for a moment, he can give up this whole idea of not liking somebody. You know,
to have all that bile leave him.
Of being pissed off, you know, because, I mean, the whole idea of spending all of your time 24/7, you know, being pissed off, it's got to take its toll.
Exactly.
You know, that's where my head went to, you know, and I often wonder, did he go back to what he, you know, previously Boy, my brain's not working right now.
Not at all.
I've been on the road, folks. I'm so tired.
This is the end of a 12-city tour. So we welcome you home.
Yeah. Thank you.
And as you embarked on this tour, and I'm sure this will come up in our Q&A, is the first question always a Star Wars question or not?
Yeah, I get a lot of that. There's no question about it. But it's okay.
When you were approached about Star Wars, because I think there's obviously a huge Star Wars community. Were you aware of how big it was?
Well, at that time, I had seen a movie that George Lucas made. What was it, THX?
Right.
What, 30? What was it? I forget exactly what the title is.
Yeah.
But I was really, I loved that movie. I was really impressed with that experience. And also at that time, I was aware of all of these young filmmakers like Spielberg and Coppola and Scorsese and all of these people who were changing the whole world of cinema. And so I thought, wow, if I could work with one of these guys, it would be great. So I got an offer to do Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I got a two-picture deal, and it was a fantastic deal. I mean, for me, and then when I was told what the character's name was, Calrissian, and I said, Calrissian, wow, that's interesting. Let me see. That's an Armenian name. Let me see what I can do with that. And then, of course, I got the cape, and I said, well, this is Errol Flynn time. So the combination of those two ideas, I sort of built this character around those two ideas. Again, for me, it's trying to develop and build a character that is not mired in stereotype. And all I wanted to do was create a bigger-than-life character. And I think I succeeded in doing that with Lando.
Well, absolutely, and of course, Lando graces, the cape graces the cover of the book. And this great title, What Have We Here? Which, of course...
That's when I first meet Princess Leia.
Right.
Hello, what have we here? I don't know if that line beats any of the lines I had for Colt 45.
All right, well, seeing as you brought it up, was Colt 45 a pleasure for, I would say for you, for your accountant, and did you feel there was controversy surrounding those commercials?
Yeah, my accountant loved it. Yes.
Okay.
Well, hello. When you have lines like, it works every time, and lines like that, I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun for me.
And that man for whom it works every time, how much of that guy is real life you?
Well, a lot of it is me. It's me laughing at myself. I always regard myself as a walking absurdity, and it gives me a lot of space and places to play, because I don't take myself seriously. I mean, I take the work seriously, but I don't really take myself too seriously.
In the book, all of us here know you as an actor, are coming to know and admire you as an author. You're this extraordinary painter.
Yeah, I'm a very good painter. There's no question about that.
And when did you first discover that ability?
Oh, I've been doing it all my life. You know.
And I think, you know, and you went to art school, and I'm sure there are various techniques that can, but to me, as someone who can't draw a circle, you have it or you don't.
Well, you know, when I was 18, when I graduated Music and Art High School, I went to the National Academy of Design for Fine Arts, where I spent 2 years painting. And I was nominated for a Guggenheim when I was 18, 19. And also I won a Hall Garden, which was comparable to, pardon me, to a Guggenheim. No, painting is, you know, people ask me, for instance, I mean, what's the difference between being a painter and being an actor? I don't think there's any real difference. I think they both feed each other. And the beauty of painting is that you learn to look at things from in a much broader sense. You're not just looking at one thing or the other, as I tried to say earlier. You know, it sort of develops this kind of a eclectic perspective. You know, where well, like everything for me is universal. It's like energy, frequency, it's vibration. It's I feel like everything in this room is me, and everything I am is you, and you. So, I mean, it's like, I feel like there's no disconnect. There's a connection. No matter what it is, there's a connection. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly.
Well, one thing, though, that I think a lot of people think, oh, you know, if I was just given the opportunity, I could act, or you know, or I could deliver in front of a camera. I think far fewer people think, gee, if I was given an easel and some paints, I could actually paint something. Is it? And this may be the dumbest question ever. Is it a rarer skill?
I think everybody can paint.
Really?
I think I don't know if it's what you expect.
Sure. Okay.
But I think everybody is capable of painting.
Well, one thing that I think painting and acting, and one other thing that is mentioned in the book, you had a nightclub act. You were sort of a song and dance man doing a...
Well, you know, the song A Taste of Honey was written for me for when I did it on Broadway with Joni Plowright and Angela Lansbury. And the president of Prestige label, which is a jazz label, was starting a new series called Lively Arts. And he heard me singing the song, and he asked me if I wanted to do an album. I said, I'm a 23-year-old kid. Yes, okay.
Sure.
Why not? So I did it, and it was called Let's Misbehave with Billy Dee Williams. It was ridiculous. But I worked with George Corey and Douglas Cross. They became really good friends of mine. They wrote I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And they were training me to be what they at that time called a chic East Side nightclub singer. And so I did that for a while. I even went to Chicago and sang at the Playboy Club. But anyway,
Well,
it was an adventure. It was a wonderful adventure.
You write about meeting Hugh Hefner, about meeting Dick Gregory, about meeting Lenny Bruce.
Yeah, well, Lenny Bruce, when I met him, we were staying at the same hotel, and he really needed he had a lot of problems, you know, and he needed a friend. So we sort of hooked up a little bit and talked to each other. And the last time he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, he was one of those people that in my travels, came across, and I had a kind of, I suppose a kind of simpatico. I understood, you know, and I understood people's struggle. I was always interested in what was going on with brilliance, that kind of brilliance. But I'm a loner, basically. You know, I'm a person that sort of goes through life just kind of like, that's interesting.
Well, you know, but I think that gives you an ability to then reflect back, because you observed a lot.
Yeah.
And then you could reflect it back. Before we get to some audience questions, which I bet 2 or 3 will be about Star Wars, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, because I think this is just everybody's perception. Was Star Wars fun? Was it just like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever?
Yeah, they paid me a lot of money. You know, and gave me a percentage deal.
Oh my gosh.
So I was it was a fantastic experience.
And I'll ask you the same thing.
But working with, you know, with Empire Strikes Back, working with Irv Kershner, whom I had a tremendous admiration for, was something that I really looked forward to. And of course, I got friendly with the rest of the kids, and that was nice. Harrison and I are buddies, you know, although I know a lot of people think because he was doing Han Solo, and I betrayed Han Solo. People always wonder if we're really at odds with each other. But no, we're real good.
There's a wonderful photo in the book of you introducing your grandson to him.
Yeah.
At a premiere.
Yeah.
Much the same inquiry that I had with Brian's song. When you did Empire, obviously Star Wars was a step. People knew this was like successful. Did you think this love, mania, whatever you would call it, about Star Wars would endure?
Yeah, I mean, it was George Lucas. You know, I mean, I knew that I was embarking on something really very significant and really important. There was no question about that. I mean, but you know, when you're an actor, you just want to be hired, but you want to be hired doing stuff that can, you know, bring all of the rewards that most people who are capitalists like me look for.
I think there's a period, it's an extraordinary endeavor to write any book, but to write a really good book, a really honest book, a really candid book. So you do it, and then in X amount of time, they send you the galleys, but then they send you a case of the books.
Right.
So when you got the book for the first time, and you sat down, I assume, and kind of went over it, what'd you think?
I thought brilliant. But you know, I spent there's a book that I've been putting together for over 20-some years, a coffee table book telling my life and my ideas through my paintings, which is something I want to do next.
By the way, this is going to open the door for that. Go on.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I got really fortunate with this one. I'm not a writer in the sense that I'm a skilled writer, but I can talk about things that are really important to me. I'm a good learner.
Well, I tell you what, you learn a lot about Billy Dee Williams with this book. This has been terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
What work of yours, you said that you did a lot of roles for fun, like Lando and Colt 45, but films have the power to change us and make us feel. What film and role of yours do you think that you did that had the most heart and you wanted your audience to feel and connect with and was the most Billy Dee?
Well, I've done a lot. I've been doing this for over 60 years, so I've done a lot of roles on stage and as well as film and television. Yeah, it's hard to say. I've done a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed doing, and I'm proud of. There are things that nobody's ever seen or heard about or heard of that I'm like stuff I did a lot of television for CBC in Canada, so I did some really important work there, and I did a movie there called Giant Steps. So it was Coltrane's Giant Steps. I played a jazz musician, one of my favorite characters of all time. Slade Thompson, yeah, Slade Thompson. Talk like that, say Arvo, No, there are quite a lot of characters that I've done and I really am very happy about, I don't know, I never know how to answer that question, really, to tell you the truth. Okay. I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate, but I follow my, I'm what you call an individualist. I come from that world, and futurism. I'm futuristic. I come from that world. Ayn Rand and all those people back in those days. So I don't follow anybody. I follow my own. I challenge myself constantly to see what I can come up with and see how interesting it can be. I don't give advice to anybody. I don't feel I'm smart enough to give advice to anybody. But I'm always working on myself to see where I can go with, and to see how innovative I can possibly be. Anyway.
Good evening, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much for making this opportunity for us. I was not aware that you actually did an album. Out of that album, what was the favorite song that you enjoyed performing the most?
I don't know, there were a few of them. Well, Taste of Honey. Let's Misbehave, I think was the other one. Anyway.
Hello, it's great to see you. Big fan. My question is, I know that in every point, people, authors at one point feel like there's a point in their life or a story that they want to tell that prompts them to write. what was the moment in your life that prompted you to write this book?
No, I'm getting older, and I just figured it's time to say something. I don't know what. But I just felt like I needed to say something about my adventures and what I've experienced.
By the way, Billy Dee Williams is 86 years young, which would make me 106.
It's you start thinking legacy, man. What is, let me talk about some things. And I got grandkids and my kids, who are all grown folks, but, I just want to leave something behind, whatever that is. Some little piece of information.
Hi, Mr. Williams. Thank you for being here tonight. And I think your answer just now kind of leads to my question, in that, is there a specific character, or be it fiction or nonfiction, or a story that you wish you could tell in film or TV that you haven't done yet?
Well, I always wanted to play Duke Ellington, because I think I'm the only one who can really pull that one off. Because I understand that sensibility. I tried to do it, as a matter of fact, it was introduced to me many years ago by the producer of a Sophisticated Lady when they did it on Broadway. But he went and died on me.
Oh, well.
So, and we never got around to doing it. Then I went to Bob Fosse about it, and then he went and died on me. And he was really interested in doing it. But I still have a treatment. I'm too old to, I don't know. At this point, I don't know. But anyway, that was one character I really always thought that I'd be, and I met Ellington, and the first time I met him when I was 18 years old. And one of the most interesting people I've ever met in my life. And I met him years later in Vegas. But I'll never forget the first time I met him, though. My friend he was the managing editor of a newspaper in Harlem called New York Age, Alfred Duckett. And he was giving a reception for Ellington. And the reception was filled with all of these ladies waiting for Ellington to show up, from wall to wall, packed with these ladies. He walked in the room, and he made each woman feel like she was the only woman in the room. I said, but he used to compete with his father.
Right.
To see who was the most charming.
Uh-oh.
But that was, he was very special, very special.
What was it like to work with Richard Pryor?
Well, let me put it this way. I knew him very, very well. And I'll leave it at that.
What do you remember about doing the movie Mahogany?
Well, working with, Tony Richardson, who was hired to direct the movie, was fired. Barry was not happy with what he was doing. So Barry took on the directorial chores. And I guess something as insignificant as being a real support to Barry, because I really love Barry very much. And I remember he and Diana were having their differences at that time. And, but I was always there as giving him support. I don't know why I remember that, but that was very significant for me.
Right
But I had a lot of fun doing that movie. That was a good movie to me. Even though I think a lot of people, there were some people who didn't feel it was a good movie. I thought it was a damn good movie.
To the front row right here.
Hello. Where
Hi.
can we see your art?
Well, you know, I got about 300 paintings stored away right now. People have asked me to show this stuff, but I'm not really looking forward to doing that right now. I don't really know why. I'm just not ready for it. I was going to do it while I was traveling around doing this. I might end up doing it. I don't know. I don't know.
That's the most honest of answers. Here we go.
Hi, Mr. Williams. Really love the fact that you were 13 when you found your voice, and you know that, and that's something that's been your trademark, you know, all these
13?
years. When you were 13, right? No, or were you with the girl
Who
who had the orgasm?
With your voice.
Yeah. The line, "What have we here?" There you were with an entrance line that was the same sort of energy. I wonder, when they wrote that, they write that for you, like Lawrence Kasdan, because in Lady Sings the Blues, your first line when you're tipping Diana Ross in the club was the same sort of energy and that same sort of evocative, "Here I am." That line, what was it? "Do you want my hand to fall off?"
Right, yes.
No, don't remember? Oh, I love that. And
that was a good
just,
one.
it just, you know, you had that. And I just wondered if they knew that energy and they incorporated in the Empire Strikes Back, because that's the same sort of entrance.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I know how to be romantic, because I love romance.
Mr. Williams, you're, of course, our treasure. It's an honor to have you here. But I especially remember you in the Jeffersons. You were with Marla Gibbs. That was just so hilarious. But I was just wondering, what was it like working in that situation with the Jeffersons?
Oh, I had a lot of fun doing that, and certainly with Marla. As a matter of fact, we ended up doing a movie together years later, a movie called The Visit. She plays my wife. It's a movie a young man by the name of Jordan Walker Perlman put together. And I was nominated, as a matter of fact, for what do you call it? The Spirit Awards?
Oh, Independent Film Independent Spirit Awards.
Independent Spirit Awards, yeah. For that character.
First, thank you for confirming Lando's Armenian, as I've been telling people my whole life and nobody believes me. My question, though, is, as the token Chicago Bears fan here, you mentioned the great chemistry you had with James Caan. What were some of your favorite moments in the filming and the production of Brian's Song?
All of the moments, really. I mean, certainly the speech I give, which is formidable, and but everything about that whole experience was, for me, as I've described it, as an act of love. Everything was, it's one of those, you know, those moments that you rarely come across in a lifetime. It was one of those kind of moments. Everything was just perfect. From the acting, from the actors, to the director, producers, It was like meant to be.
Let's thank Billy Dee Williams.